Okay, so we're going to investigate the relationship between the amount of air, the air particles, and the pressure. So I'm going to be using this syringe. When it is not connected to anything, this little end up here is completely open. Air can flow in and out. So right now I can say it's going to be 10 milliliters of air in here. And we're going to just use a not so scientific notation right now where 1 milliliter is going to be 1 puff of air. We can actually go into how much air that is in later units, but right now, 1 milliliter, 1 puff. So when it's at 10 milliliters, 10 puffs. If I decrease it to, say, 5 milliliters, as long as this is still open, I've pushed air out. So there's only going to be 5 puffs of air in there right now. Same thing if I expanded it up to, say, 15 milliliters. Because this is still open, air can flow in to this syringe, and there's going to be 15 puffs of air. And we don't really want to keep looking at the relationship between volume and its effect on pressure. We already know that from the last lab. So what I'm going to do is I'm always going to return it to the same volume in here, 10 milliliters. So I'm going to start off with, say we have 10 milliliters, so 10 puffs of air. And I'm going to connect it to our gas pressure sensor. And right now, the volume in this container that is closed to just the sensor itself is 10 milliliters. And the pressure is going to be 98.78 kPa, kilopascals. So I'm going to disconnect this, and I'm going to decrease it to 5 milliliters. So what we have in here is 5 puffs of air. I'm going to connect it to the gas pressure sensor. So in this volume, there's 5 puffs of air, but I want to know how much pressure is going to be in here when it's at the same volume as before. So I'm going to pull the plunger back, so that way it's at 10 milliliters of volume. And I see the pressure is 49, and it's fluctuating a little bit in the last one, 49.63 kilopascals. And I'm going to disconnect. So really what that was showing was those last 2 data points, it was differing amounts of air in the same volume. We're going to collect a few more data points to show that. I'm going to go to about 7.5. So that's 5, 6, 7, and about halfway there. So there's going to be 7.5 puffs in this syringe right now. When I connect it back to the sensor, I'm going to give it the same volume in here like previously. So for 7.5 puffs of air, we're seeing a pressure of 74.15 kilopascals. I'm going to go to about 12.5 puffs on my syringe. And now I'm going to compress it, make it smaller, so that way we can see what effect 12.5 puffs have in 10 milliliters of volume. So it looks like it's going to be, for the pressure, 123.38 kilopascals. I'm going to expand this up to 15. And return it to the same volume we've been measuring all of these at. So for 15 puffs of air, I'm seeing a pressure of 144.86 kilopascals. And now I'm going to go all the way up to 20 puffs of air. I'm reconnecting, And I'm going to compress down to 10 milliliters to have the same volume. And I see a pressure of 187, and it's fluctuating a little bit, 187.42.